What's up guys, Jonny May here, and welcome to this week's quick tip where I'm going to teach you a really cool way that you can solo over the turnaround progression. This is a progression that's used in tons of different jazz standards using a very cool technique called the upper structure technique. We're going to talk about a couple ways you can play the left hand. If you're more of a beginner in jazz, we're going to use some simple chord shells which sound really nice, and then if you're more intermediate, you've had some jazz experience, we're going to talk about walking bass lines for a very cool sound, and then I'm going to teach you these right hand upper structures and basically 3 different patterns that you can use to create some really cool sounding solos. So let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, so step number 1 is you want to play the left hand. If you're more of a beginner jazz student, it's kind of hard to walk bass lines, so there's a very cool technique called chord shells that you can use to play these chords, and it's a very simple idea. Go ahead and play this with me. First chord is a C major 7. We're going to use the root and the 3rd of the chord just like this. Then we go to an A7. You're going to use the root and the 7th of the chord like this. Then we're going to go to a D minor 7. You're going to use the root and the 3rd of the chord like this. And then a G7, you're going to use the root and the 7th of the chord like this. This is a very typical way of playing chord shells. And a chord shell is usually, 2 notes from the chord, sometimes 3 notes from the chord. And so I would just practice this. If you're more of a beginner, you can just practice these 4 chords and they sound very cool, okay? More of a beginner approach. Now, if you are have some experience in jazz, you want to play more of a walking bass line sound, then you're going to want to walk a bass line like this. This is one of my favorite bass lines. Okay, sounds really, really cool. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm here on a low C. Go ahead and play this with me. I want to get to my A. I'm going to use the little upper neighbor to A, which is B flat. Okay, so C, B flat, A, and then I want to get to D. Well, we're going to use the upper neighbor to D. That's an E flat. Okay, we get to our D, and then I'm going to use an upper neighbor to G because G is my next target chord here. So I'm going to use the A flat here to get to the G like that. Okay, you guys see this? And I like to use the 2 finger like that to the thumb, okay? And then once we want to get back to the C, I just use the D flat like that, okay? So basically, this is a very cool way of walking a bass line using the upper neighbor concept. Here it is once again, C, B flat, A, E flat, D, A flat, G, D flat, C. Okay, so this is a very cool bass line. Now this is a quarter note bass line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And if you want to take it up to an even higher level, I'd say more of an advanced sound, you can do a little swung note, C, B flat, C, A. You guys see that? And then E flat to D. And what I'm doing is E flat, A, D. And then I'm going to go to my G, I'm going to go A flat, D, G, okay? And then to get to my C, I do the same thing, D flat, G, C. So I'm throwing in a little extra note. Basically, I'm throwing in the note that I came from. Once more, here's how this one sounds slow. Okay, and that is a very cool walking bass line for the turnaround progression. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this lesson, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button for more videos just like this. Also, if you want to learn more about walking bass lines, we have a full-length course on this topic where you learn 18 basically approaches to walking bass lines. I'll put a link to that in the description, but I do want to move you guys on to the upper structure technique. And basically, this is a very cool technique for creating very cool sounding lines over the turnaround progression. And it's actually a very simple idea. What we're going to do is we're going to go chord by chord, and I want to teach you the positions for these chords and kind of explain, how these chords work. The first chord, the C major, is just a straight C major chord. We have E, G, and C, okay? Nothing too crazy about that one, okay? The second chord is a really magical chord where we get this very cool upper structure sound. This is an A7 chord, A dominant 7th. And in my right hand, I have C sharp, F sharp, and A sharp, okay? This is an upper structure, and the basic idea behind an upper structure is it's a major chord that's usually imposed over a dominant chord in the left hand. It could be over a root 7 like this, or a 3 and 7 like this, but it's a major chord. This is a G flat major chord in my right hand. It's an inversion of the chord, and I'm basically hitting some very cool colors. I'm hitting the 3rd, the 13, and the flat 9, okay? Next chord, I'm going to use an F major in my right hand, C, F, and A. My left hand has D and F. So this is like a kind of a simple D minor 7th chord. Okay. And then my G7 chord, this is my next upper structure, sounds really cool. I've got B, E, and A flat, okay? It's an E major chord in the right hand. It's an inversion of the chord. And I'm hitting some very cool colors. I'm hitting the 3rd of my G7, the 13, and the flat 9. Okay, so these upper structures are very cool. They're simple major chords, but they hit some very cool extensions and alterations of the chord that we're trying to play, in this case dominant chords. Next chord position, I use this. This is like a G major over a C in the left hand. Kind of simple, hitting some nice chord colors, 7th, 9th, and the 5th of the chord. This is the next one, B flat, D flat, F. This is an A7. I'm hitting the flat 9, the 3rd, the flat 13. Okay, and then my next one, D minor 9 chord. This is the A, C, and E, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, and my final chord, G7. I play this one kind of simple. Okay, this is F, B, and D. Okay, and these are basically all of your positions. When you get back to the next chord, you're basically going to end up where you started, which is quite nice. Okay, so this is kind of like an exercise because you can repeat it all the way down the piano. Let's go over these positions once more. That's the first position, second position. D minor 7 will be there. G7 or G13 flat 9's there. C major 9. A7 flat 13 flat 9, D minor 9, and then the G7. Okay. Now we have the lesson sheet music. This is really nice. You guys can follow along here. You guys can download and print the lesson sheet music at pianowithjonny.com. I'll put a link to that below as well. This is a really great resource. But what you want to do is make sure you have these positions in your hands. Okay. Now you can play them with the pinky on the top. We're going to adjust our fingering depending on the pattern, but I do want to teach you guys pattern number 1. This is a very cool technique where you can basically break up your chord like this. Okay, and here's the basic idea. I'm starting with the top note, I'm going to the bottom note of the chord, and then coming up the chord. Okay, and I'm going to do that for all of my chords. I'm going to pick my G flat major chord, same thing here. And then my D chord, that's going to be here. And then my G7, 13 flat 9, like that. And then the C, I'm going to play like that. You guys following along? So basically take all of those chords and apply this pattern. You end up back on your C. Okay? Pretty cool. And what I love about this is you're just taking simple chords and just breaking them up in an interesting way. And you can actually do a lot of different patterns with this. Now, fingering does kind of matter here. You could use the same fingering, you know, with the pinky on the top the whole time. The challenge with this is you're playing the pinky twice. Okay? C, C, B flat, B flat A. Okay, so fingering, generally, you know, I like to talk about fingering at pianowithjonny.com for our students, but I would go like pinky to 4. See my fingering? And then when I get back to the top, I go 3, 5, and then 4 on the A, and then 3, 5 to 4, 3, 5. You guys seen the fingering? 2, 5, 4. 3, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4. Better fingering, and with this improved fingering, you'll be able to play this line a lot faster. All right? By the way, if you guys want to learn more about upper structures, we've got whole courses that really dive into each of these topics, chord shells, bass lines, at Piano with Jonny. I'll be sure to put links below to those. You guys could also play this pattern with a walking bass, okay? And it would sound like this. Okay, and basically we've written out the notation here for you, but you know the left hand goes, right hand is 2 eighth notes for every quarter note in the left hand. Okay, really fun way to play it. sense? Okay, so that's another cool approach. I want to teach you a couple more patterns because, improvising at the piano is all about understanding, what you can do with scales, or in this case, what you can do with these chords. And anytime you're playing a solo, you're improvising using a chord, kind of a sound, I would say this is a chordal sound, you want to apply different patterns. Another favorite pattern I have goes like this. Okay, and so for this pattern, it's quite simple. I'll use simple chord shells on my left hand. I'm just walking down the chord, top, middle, bottom, top. A7, top, middle, bottom, top. Okay, makes sense? D minor 7 will be here, top, middle, bottom, top, E. And then you basically play each chord down the piano. Now, again, you want to think about fingering here, okay? You don't want to use the same fingers, you don't want to go pinky for these, okay? So I start with pinky, and then go 5 to 4, and then go 5 here to 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, okay? Really important. I work with a lot of students on this stuff, and oftentimes they will use the same finger again and again. So this is another pattern I like to use on this particular one, and then pattern number 3 goes like this. Okay, what am I doing here? Basically taking the chord, now I start with the middle note, and I go top, middle, bottom, okay? A7, 13, flat 9, would be like that, okay? D minor 7, E, C, and this one's actually one of the easiest ones to play because we don't have to shift between that 5 and the 4 finger as we move between the chords, okay? So this one is a little bit easier to play fast when you start playing it from the get-go. Now, these are the 3 patterns I love to use. I would try them with some different left hand, bass lines, depending on your playing level, but try some other patterns. You could take a chord and you could break it up like that, okay? Okay, or you could start on the bottom note. You could go, okay, or you could go, you guys seen the pattern? Okay, so I really want to encourage you to create your own patterns. All right, guys, this concludes this week's quick tip. And if you enjoyed this lesson, I want to encourage you to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have over 600 step-by-step lessons in jazz, blues, improvisation, theory, technique. We teach styles like jazz ballads, jazz swing, Latin jazz, walk you through funk music, boogie woogie. Also check out the Piano with Jonny membership. This gives you unlimited access to our entire course catalog. Plus, you get to be part of our live monthly events, including a live monthly Q&A where you can ask me practice questions, our live workshop lessons, student assessments where you can send me a video and I'll give you feedback on your playing. We do weekly challenges for our members. We have an amazing member community, so go check out pianowithjonny.com and I'll see you in the next one.